So now today, again, I'm going to start with something that we left up with uh, CSS, right? We'll go here. So let's refer to the code examples, and then I'll go back here. Yesterday, we looked into some of the important concepts. Again, they are related to. We looked into what are margins, what is the padding, outline, again, styling of text or text formatting, then about fonts, different ways of styling the fonts as well. Okay, how we style the fonts and other aspects, and then we will today take ahead and talk about styling the links. So what it means, so how do you want to style the links are nothing but your hyperlinks, right, which are the anchor tags. Okay, so in order to style the link, there are a couple of things that you need to understand, and those are related to some state. Okay, which means links can be styled with any CSS property. Okay, and also links can be styled differently depending on what state they are in. Okay, that is important. Now you might come up with the question, sir, what are the different states in the links? So here they are. There are four states that any hyperlink or an anchor tag can have. One is called a normal or unvisited state, and next is a visited state, and then there is a hover state. Okay, when a mouse is hover over it. Okay, that is called a hover state. And then there is a active state. Okay, active state is the moment you are clicking that link, that is called a active state. Now now let's consider this. Okay, and what are the different states we looked into? Link, visited, hover, and active. Okay, now let's say I'll have the same set of links. I'll just copy this into our spreadsheet. I mean, sorry, Visual Studio Code. Let's say I'll create a boilerplate and add these lines of code. Okay. Now I'll talk about what these code lines are one by one. Someone joined again. Okay. So here they are. What it contains now, it contains a heading tag, and then there is a heading subheading tag, which is H2. Okay. And there is a span tag. Okay. Span tag contains an anchor tag. Okay. Which is a nested tag here. So outer tag is a span tag. It starts open, span tag open, and at the end, the span tag is closed. And within that, we have got this anchor tag. Now, what is it telling? CSS link color and CSS. Then we are going to give a skillsam link. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. And let's see. Before we go to the next thing, let's observe this. What it contains. Let me go and open this. Yeah, this is what it simply looks like. What is this? There is a demo styling hyperlink, which is nothing but our h1 tag. And then there is a h2 tag which says CSS link color. Okay, that is what it is. This is the h2, which is the subheading that we are talking about. And then there finally what we have is a span tag, skillsam link. Then there is a colon, which is nothing but till here, from here to here. What you see, this one, right, click here is because of this anchor tag. We have this anchor tag all the way till here is a open tag, and inside that there is a content, right, anchor tag content. Then there is a closing anchor tag. So the content is what you're seeing here, the enclosed content tag. Now this anchor tag has got a couple of attributes. One, we have named a class which is a universal universal attribute class, and this attribute is named link color. And then there is a href, which is hypertext reference, which is pointing to the URL. What is there? It is pointing to the address of skillsam.com. And then there is another attribute called target, which is underscore blank, which will open the link in a new window. That is what it does. Like if I click here, it will open a new window with the target href that is we are given in the href attribute, that is skillsam.com. All right, that is what we have done so far. Now your question might be like, sir, what is that we are going to do now? And the same is the case here. Let me show this. Here there is again another h2 tag that is created below, and then there is a workzam link is given. Okay, so workzam link, and if I click this, workzam.com will open. So there are two links basically. Now let's understand this one by one. What are the different states that we are talking about? Now by default, can you observe one thing here, that a hyperlink is appearing in blue color and it is getting underlined. Okay, that is the default property of any hyperlink. All right, but this property can be changed. Like what we can do using the css styling, we can remove this underline, we can change the color of the hyperlink to any color we want. And again, there are many text formatting that we have seen yesterday. All that can be done on this as well. Okay, but along with that, depending on the state of the link, that is whether it is a unvisited link, visited link, or a hover, if the mouse is hover over it. Okay, now if you see, the mouse is hover over it, the pointer is changing to arrow is changing to pointer. Okay, that is again one of the property of a hyperlink, default property. And then whenever we have visited a particular link, which means when I click on this and I have visited that link, that is called a visited link. So if we visit it at least once, that it will change the color. That is what it will do. It is called a visited state. Now let's go ahead and talk about the styling now. So for that, let me include a style tag inside that. Now what I'll do is I will select either the a tag, or I can select the link, either of them. I mean, or the class. So what is the selection for a? If I put this, what kind of a selector is this, guys? Now let's say I want to take a colon. Let's say I want to give hover. Okay, say hover. So what it does, whenever hover, then I'm going to change the color to coral. So what it is doing, so whenever there is an anchor tag, then followed by colon, okay, and then there is a hover text. This is a pseudo state selector. So this is one kind of a selector which is saying whenever the anchor tag is hover, is in a hover state. Hover, what do we call a hover? Hover is when your mouse pointer is hovered over the text, when it is moved over the text, that is called hover. Okay, so now what we have given, we have given a colon hover, and then there is a open curly bracket, open and close, and then there is something that we have changed the font color to coral. So let's see that. If I hover the text, if you see, can you see the change in the color? Earlier that was not the so, it was only blue was appearing. Now it is changing the color because we have modified that. Whenever we hover the mouse over the hyperlink, then it is going to change the color. Okay, that is the usage. This is called pseudo state. All right, and then let's say a colon, then let's say visited. So sorry, a colon visited. Now what is that? If I say color, and then if I go ahead and say red. So what it means, whenever a site is visited, it is appearing as red. Okay, now let's go ahead and see the output. Now if you see this, guys, we have clicked on both of things, both of these. That is the reason it is appearing in red color. We have even clicked this, we have visited that, it is appearing in red. We have clicked this and we are seeing that. That is the reason they are both appearing in red. If it is another hyperlink, if I create, let's say I'll create another tag, and I'll give it to http colon front slash google.com. Okay, let's say that. Let's give text as Google. Right, is it Google? Yeah, Google. right. So now it is, if I hover, it is not changing the color as well. Wait, yeah, there is a catch here. What it is, yeah, here is the catch, guys. When setting the style for several states, there is some order rules that need to be followed. Okay, there is a rule. There is a order rule that we need to follow. What is that order rule? A hover must come after link and visited, which means I cannot give hover before visited. That is not right. It should always come after visited. So that is the catch here. Why it was not working? Because in a pseudo state selector, whenever you are setting multiple link states, then a dot hover must come after link a dot link hover and a colon visited. After this only we can use hover. And also there is active must be used after hover, which means I can go ahead and I can go ahead and add hover here, and then I can go ahead and add active here. Okay, this is the right uh, chronology or the order in which it need to be added. Then if there is a colon, let's say link, okay, then I'll say color is indigo. One is, what are those? One is, there is a link that we have created. We have created visited, hover, and then we have created active. Yeah, this is the right order. Now, if I go ahead and this is hover and active, I'll make it as orange. ORANG. Okay. All right. So now there are multiple pseudo state selectors that have been created. One is the link is in a, what kind of a link color that we need to make. Okay. By default, it is changed to blue. Instead of blue, we are making it as, let's say, green. Okay. Let's make it as green. So one next is visited. If the link is clicked and we have visited it, change it to red. And then hover whenever the mouse is hovered over it. Okay. Whenever the mouse is hovered over the text, then you change the hyperlink color to coral. And when we click and hold it, then it is an active state, then change it to, yeah, orange. Now let's go ahead, and another thing is here, let me remove this and add another, let's say, span tag. And this span tag contains an anchor tag. Anchor tag will take me to http http:// let me say it as github.com. All right. Into github colon, and I'll say click here. All right. Now this is a newly tag that I've created just to demonstrate unvisited. Let's go ahead and check the output, guys. Where is the output? Let me run this. All right. Now observe this, guys. Now what we are saying, whenever the tag is visited, which means we have already clicked that, it will appear in red. So that is the reason it is appearing in red. Now these two we have already clicked, so it is appearing in red. And whichever is unvisited or a fresh or newly added, it is appearing in green. So that is the reason, if you see, this GitHub is appearing in green. Maybe I can add that in a new line. DR. Okay, so now GitHub is appearing in green, the link. And then what happens when I click it active? So what is active? When I take the mouse and click it, if I click and hold it just like that, you see it is changing to orange color because it is in active state. Now link is in active state. The moment if I release it, then it will click on that. Okay, I don't release it now. And another thing is, what if it is visited? Now understand that GitHub has never been clicked. That is the reason it is now appearing in green. The moment I click and visit that, you will observe that this will change to red. Okay, if I click it, yeah, I have visited it. Now I go back. Now this has changed it to red because I have visited that hyperlink. So there are always four states just to remember. One is a link state, which is unvisited hyperlink. Then there is a visited hyperlink, okay, in visited status. And then there is a hover status. Whenever the mouse is moved over the text, what should be the color? And then there is active status when we click on the hyperlink. So again, mind you that these are the I have just changed the color here. You can give as much as different kinds of properties that you wanted. Like for example, if I hover the text over it, I want to change the background color to, let's say, indigo. What I'm saying, whenever I hover the text over, then I want the background color, instead of white, it should look indigo. Let's see that. So if you observe, it is changing the background color to indigo. That is because of this property that I have newly added. So we can, I mean, styling is unlimited. You can do whatever you want to do using the styling. But what's important here to understand is link has got these different kinds of four selectors, and the order is always link should be first, and then there is visited, and then hover, and then active. Okay, this is the order that you need to follow. Okay, make sense, guys? Any questions? Let's move ahead with another kind of styling that we can see. What is that? Is a styling of cursors, okay, or styling link buttons. This is also there. Link buttons is basically you are using a link and then creating a button kind of. How do you create a button in a CSS, using CSS? That's easy. Let's go ahead and create a button. How can we create a button? All right, let's do that. Create a tag. Let's say we have one h1 link, demo button creation. Now there is one button that I want to create. Let's say that is anchor tag, and maybe there is a span tag that contains a anchor tag. Let's say this way, like the way that we have created. Let's say there is a span tag, then we want to create an anchor tag. This is not needed. I just added it. You can just go ahead and create an anchor tag. That's also enough. Now inside the this, let's say I want to add http colon front slash skillsam.com. Okay. Now the text that I want to add is skillsam. Let's just observe the output. Not this. Yeah. It is, this is how it looks. What it looks, there is a text, okay, and then there is a underline that is appearing. Now I want to create this as a button. Observe this. I want to create this as a button. How can I do? The first thing is I want to go into the styling. Styling. Inside the styling, the first thing I want to do is remove this underline. I don't want to see this underline. For that, what I need to do is use text decoration. Okay. We have text. Here I'm writing here. I'm sorry. This should not here. It should be inside the tag. Okay. What's happening? Writing something incorrect. Okay, style. I need to select a tag, and then I need to select text decor. Okay, sorry, I was not giving the selector. My bad. Okay, now what I have done, I have taken the anchor tag as my selector, and then I am going to give text decoration is equal to none. So why we needed this particular property? Because text decoration is equal to none will make that underline disappear. So what you see now, That underline which was appearing earlier is not seen now because we have used text decoration is equal to none. And the next what I want to do is create a border. Let's say I want to create a color. Let's give the font color as indigo. Okay, and then no, not indigo, let's give it as a white. Yeah. Let's give it as a white, and background color let's give it as indigo, so that it is seen much visible. Let's see this. Okay, what you can see now, there is a background color of indigo, but the font is appearing as white. We have given two. Now what is that we can do? We can add padding. Okay, let's say I want to add padding of like 5 pixels. Okay. What does this padding will do? Padding will create a space around it. Okay, there is a space around it. And now once I create a padding, let's give a rounded corners. How can I create a rounded corners, guys? If I want to round these corners, what property I need to use? All right, we use border radius. Okay, now that will make the corners as rounded. All right, and then once this is done, so you can see the look and feel of this is getting changed to a button. Okay, now what I'll do, this is by default. I can say this as a link, a colon link. I can make it. Okay, nothing going to change though, but this is how it looks. Now what I'll do, a colon hover. Whenever I hover the text over it, and I'm going to change a little bit of effect here. What I'll do, I'll just make this as alternate. What I'll do, I'll make the color as indigo, and then the background I'll make it as uh, let's say I want to make a background as white. For that I need to add a border, so that if everything looks white there won't be a border, right? So I'll add like 2 pixel border which is of solid style, and color would be indigo. All right, now let's observe this. So this is the by default. If I hover over it, if you see, it is just changing the color. Okay, now this looks like as if like you are working on a button. All right, that is because of the styling that we have done here. So first thing is text decoration is equal to none will remove a underline in your hyperlink. That will be removed. And then the color will set the color of the font. Background color is set by the background color property. And then there is a padding that we are added, and the border radius to make the rounded corners. All right. And then here we have just interchanging the color so that it will give a effect of hover, that we are clicking on something. I'm making this alive. And now the moment I click here, it will open skillsam.com. That is working. Okay. All right. Now if you observe, by default it is changing to some visited text, right? Because I have clicked it and visited. And then again, based on the selector, pseudo selector, visited, and all the active, we can go ahead and define for them as well. Okay, the whole intention here was to demonstrate how we can create a button using these simple properties that we have already studied. Okay, any questions, guys, in this?
No, sir.
Okay, good. All right. Now, let's go about styling the cursor. Cursor is what? Cursor is nothing but this pointer that you see here. This is a cursor. Okay, it is now currently arrow. Now, if I say auto, what is the auto type? Auto is something like this. Okay, and then there is a crosshair. Crosshair is something. If just observe the cursor changing, guys. Whenever I hover the text over, if I make this as a crossover, this is a plus sign, it will appear. That is because of the cross hair property. Again, a default is obviously pointer. It is not changing anything. It is the default. What you see here is the default. And resize is like a horizontal arrows, like pointing both the directions. That is for resize. And help is like the arrow with a question mark. Okay, arrow with a question mark. And then there is move is like four arrows pointing in each direction, northwest, east, south. This is for move. And n is not a north resize. Okay, that is, you can see pointing to north and south. And northeast resize, again you have a northeast resize. Northwest resize, there is a pointer I'm talking about, which is nothing but a hand pointing to. Progress is some kind of a wheel rotating along with an arrow. And then s resize, south resize and north resize looks appear similar, but it will work at the bottom, and north will appear at the north, which is the upper side. Okay, northwest and northeast are similar. Text is like this. Okay, you have like a I kind of a capital I kind of appearing. That is for the text selection. Okay, and then there is a west resize, which is a horizontal, and weight is just rotating. Okay, a wheel rotating is a weight. So how we can do this? By using what is called as a cursor property. So the cursor property, what we can observe here is this cursor, and you give the line, so whatever it is. So now cursor can be NWR size, or cursor can be a pointer, cursor can be this. So all this will set a cursor property. Like for example, what we have given a text. Whenever we hover over that text, now currently you are seeing that, because we are given the span. For this span, the cursor is getting changed. That is what we did. I mean, in simple, if I want to show you one example, right? Let me show you one example. Let's say we'll create one header h1, which says Killzam, and this will have, let's say, I'll create a style property, and this style property will contain h1 selector, element selector, and then I'll add border, let's say 3 pixel solid indigo, the color of that. And then with that border, I'll add a little bit of padding to it. Padding, let's say 50 pixel. So now just observe the output, what it looks. Simple output. There is a header, and what I have added is this padding. Maybe I can go ahead and make text alignment as well. Text align is equal to center, just to make it appear in the center. That's all. Now, if you observe, this is what we have done. Now, at the same time, there is a property called cursor. Okay. Now here I can put the cursor properties that have been that I have just shown you, right? These all cursor properties that I can add. Suppose I want to make it as a by default, let's say I want to make this as a help. So the moment I put cursor property as help, if I hover the mouse over it, it will change the cursor property to a help property. Okay, the help cursor pointer is changed. I mean, how it is effective? Whenever I hover the mouse, okay, whenever I move the mouse over that element, then it will change the color, it will change the cursor. For the rest, it will appear by default. There is a pointer. Again, this can be changed for anything you want. All right, let's say I want to add a crosshair. Okay, again, crosshair will become a cross whenever I select it. This will be a crosshair. Okay, and this is how you can change the pointers, or a cursor in particular. All right, make sense? Now let's go ahead and understanding the next thing, which is a styling list. Yeah, list. So now what is this list? We have already seen, right, guys? Lists are multiple types. One is called unordered list, ordered list, and then there are list items. Ul is a HTML tag. We are using it for unordered list. And then there is OL tag, which is used for ordered list. And then there is also a list items, which we create using li tag. All right. Now, by default, if you observe, okay, let's say I want to remove this skills and I'll add. Now, I'll add an ordered list. It contains list items. Let's say I want to add tea, milk, sugar. Okay, let's say. And then there is a ordered list I create. Then ordered list will contain list items, 3 list items. One is HTML, then there is CSS, and then there is JS, JavaScript. Okay, that is the order we need to learn. Now let's go ahead and check the output. So now what you observe here is a certain things that appears by default. One is the unordered list always has a dot, okay, solid dot. And then there is a ordered list which always starts with a numerals, that is numbers, which is 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot. Okay, now we want to change the styling of this as well. Instead of dot, I want to make it something else. Instead of numbers appearing, I want to make them as alphabets, that is small letters or capital letters. Yes, we can do that styling using, there is a styling methods, there is a styling elements that are associated with list that we can observe here. Now let's consider here. Now what is this example showing you? It is showing you that instead of rounded bullets, squared bullets. Okay, it has getting a square. So one joined or what? Yeah, these are square, and another is a round, but it is not completely a filled. It is a hollow round. Okay, and then there is a Roman numbers, right? 1, 2, and 3. These are Roman numbers, and then there is alphabets, capital letters. All this can be done using styling of CSS. For that, there are certain properties that you need to understand. What are those? There are two main types of lists. Okay, ordered list and unordered list, and here the list style type. Okay, this is the property that specified what type of the list marker you need to use. List style type. And next is list style type none. It will remove the markers. Nothing will be there. You won't see any markers like bullets or numbers or anything. Okay, that is list type is equal to none, which will remove, like the way we did it into text decoration is equal to none, will remove the underline from the hyperlinks. In the same way, list style type none will remove that markers, nothing will be there. And list style position. Okay, now whether the what is the position that you want to make it, whether it is inside or outside, even that we can do. I'll show you with an example. Definitely you will be able to make the differentiation out of it. But now again, list image, again, instead of those bullet points or numbers, you can also put some image for those markers or the bullets that you are going to see. Okay, it can make the decoration easier though. And then there is a list style, which is a shorthand, like the way we have a border, outline, and all that, right? Font is a shorthand representation. In the same way, list style is a shorthand representation where we can go ahead and give whether it is a square or circular or rounded, and then we can give whether it is inside or outside. How do you want to mark it? Now let's understand these three properties, at least for two properties first. One is a list style type, and then list style position. Let's go here. For that, let's add we can go ahead and add maybe PLI. Okay. Style type is, let's say, instead of that, I want to make it a square. Okay. So what you observe here is, guys, the list style type is changed to square. Okay, and then I can go ahead and change list style position, whether it is inside or outside. Let's say I want to make it as inside. For that, I need to make one change here in order to show you the difference. Let's say uh, making t. Making t is a header UL. Okay, then I will say learning language. These are the headers that I have just added. Now observe this. Instead of IL, I'll make it as UL. Okay, UL is for unordered list. And now if you see what I have made, just observe this. Just leave this one aside. What you observe here, list style position inside. Inside means it will appear in the same. It will appear in the same position. Now, if I make the list style position as outside, then this will be outside. Okay, even though they are appearing here, if you observe, this has come outside. If I say inside, then these bullet points will start at making t itself. Okay, that we saw just now. Did you guys make able to differentiate that? How the list style position inside and outside varies?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, okay, good, good. So now let's say OL. OL is for ordered list, right? Ordered list also has got its own list style type. List style type. Now this style types are different. I can go ahead and add other things here. What is upper alpha or lower Roman, or I can use lower alpha, all that. So let's say I want to use upper Roman. Okay, upper Roman representation. Now let's just observe the ordered list now. So if you can see here, it has changed to upper Roman letters, numbers. Okay, and then if I go to lower Roman, it will change it to lower Roman numbers. All right, and this I can go ahead and change using list style type. That is for OL and also for UL. And like also I have said, there is also a shorthand representation called list style, and here I can go ahead and give what kind of style that you want to make, whether it is a circle, let's say it is a circle, and whether it is inside or outside, I can go ahead and give. And this can be given for this one. Instead of giving these two are combined here. What I have given, list style type is square. Let's say I want to add the square itself here. Let's say square, and this I have to add outside. And if I, even though I comment it out, only single line shorthand representation is enough for the action here. Instead of writing two separate properties, I can combine these two into just list style. That's it. I can give the type and the position. All right, makes sense, guys? All right,
Yes.
good. Yeah, now let's go ahead and try to understand other things like a pseudo element selector. Now we have seen simple selectors, we have seen combinator selectors, we have seen pseudo state selectors. Now we are going to see pseudo element selector. Okay, so there is a catch here. What are these pseudo element selectors? Now for the pseudo element selector, right, there are certain things that you need to understand. One is after, another is before, first letter, first line, marker, and selection. Okay, these are the three element selectors. These are the element selectors that you have. So one is called after, before, first letter, first line, marker, and then selection. So now what does this representation do? Like the way we have in a state selector, right? That is a colon, then the state. Here you need to write two colons here. P is an element which is stands for paragraph. In this case, we are just taking one example. It can be anything. It can be a div. It can be a selection, a section, or it can be a span. Any element that you can give here, followed by two colons. Okay, there is a colon one. There is a colon one colon and two colons are there, and then that is followed by a element. Okay, the pseudo element, that is after, before, first letter, first line, and this. And what does this represents? It means it inserts something after the content of each paragraph element. So um, whenever you are writing something, like for example, I want to write, show in the output, maybe a skillsam followed by a colon, I want to write it. Okay, so colon is always there. Whenever I use a bullet points, I want to give the name of the heading and then followed by a colon. So that colon is always appearing after that element, then I can give that very easily by using this. Like one example might be, uh, I'll show to that example very soon. But now, prior to going to that example, next is before. Before is insert something. I mean, any content that I can insert before the content of that element is starting. Like for example, there is a paragraph that always starts with the author says. The author says. So author says is always starts the para. Okay, then at that time I can put before. I can use this always. Okay, now there is also first letter. Selects the first letter of the element and you can just modify that first element, first letter. And same is the case with the last line. You can select the last line of that any element that you select and change the styling for that. Marker selects the markers of the list items. All right, and then there is a selection, selects the portion of the element that is selected by the user. Okay, like the way how is user selects it, like taking the mouse, you're selecting, right? That is called selection. Now let's observe this one by one. Now the very first one. Here, if you observe, we are taking the giving an example. H1 H2 header is created, which is just demonstrating a first letter and after. So here we have created a paragraph with para, and now if you observe here for that, H2 colon colon before, which means always I'm adding a demo. Content is always adding a demo first. That is why the header will always start with a demo. And then the para always starts with the letter. Again, you modify that and then you can change it to anything that you want to style it. Okay. Now let's take our own example and demonstrate it for you. Let's say I have a selection with the same example. We can say, let's say I want to say um, selectors in CSS. Okay, that is what the header is. And then there is a paragraph with lorem text of 100 characters, 100, maybe 50 words. All right. Now this and this have been selected. Now let's go ahead and give some styling to it. So what is the styling that I can do? I can add a style sheet. I mean, style tag. Inside that, I want to take a selector. Now observe here. What I want to do is I want to add something before. So I'll add colon colon before. Now before I go there, I want to show you the output what it looks. It's a simple output, right? You and I know it's very simple output. It says selectors in CSS, that is the heading, and this is the paragraph that we are seeing now. Okay, simple. That is what the structure of your HTML file looks like. Now I'm going to use a pseudo element selector for H1 colon colon and then write before, then add content to it. So what is the content that I am adding? Let's say I want to add demo. So what it does is, wherever there is a H1 element that is there, before it gets start with the content, always it will enter this first. Now, if you observe that, guys, what it is showing, demo is appearing first. Demo space colon, then there is space, demo selectors and CSS. Now mind you, this is not there in our HTML content, it is being added to CSS. Now if you see, the H1 element does not have demo word, it is getting added through CSS. So one important learning or takeaway from here is that CSS can add content to be displayed onto the web page as well using pseudo element selector, like before and after you can use, and you can add the content. I can add anything I want here. I can add the entire paragraph also here, just in the content. So this is a powerful statement that we are making. What we are making, we are saying that using the CSS, I can add the content to be shown on to the HTML browser. Okay, so understand that there might be an interview question somewhere down the line in your career, that what are the different ways can we add text content through through a CSS. Then you should not be puzzled at that time. You should have this back of your mind that we can do that. And that is how can we do that? Using these selectors, which is a pseudo element selector. So always remember this. Okay, understood guys, this one how we can add the content here. And at the same time, instead of before, I can add after as well. After will add what? Selector in CSS, then it will add this content. So it will be coming at the end here. Okay, it will be coming at the end. Make sense? Now there is also, we observed another selectors, right? So what we have observed, we have observed first letter. So what we are saying, so whenever there is a paragraph started, I want to make the first letter getting modified. So what I want to make, I want to make the color of that first letter to red, and then I want to increase the font size. Let's say font size to large. Okay. Now, if I go ahead, so what it's saying, select the P element, which is this paragraph element. In that, the first letter of the paragraph element, which is in this case L. So only L is selected and given these CSS declarations. Now let's see that. So what you can observe here is only L is getting a larger font size, and at the same time it is getting changed to the color red. That is because of the first letter property, first letter, which is a pseudo element selector. All right, makes sense. And then I can also give the first line. Okay, first line itself I can modify. Let's say first letter is done, and the first line I can say maybe I want to underline, so I'll make text decoration. Text decoration is equal to underline. So what this will do, so the very first line is selected of any element. In this case, I have selected a paragraph. The very first line of this paragraph is getting underlined because of this pseudo element selector. So always observe this guys, whenever you are if you find any code and if you are trying to assimilate that code and understand it, always observe that these colon symbols are being used in CSS, which means they are pseudo element selectors. Okay, so always remember that kind of structural syntax that you can come across. You should not be surprised what it is. All right. And what else? Yeah, I mean, after before there's a first line, there is a first letter, and also if we can say, what else we can say, P selection also I can say. Okay. So what it is, there is another called selection. So what I can do, whenever I select it, I want to make the color to yellow. So what it means is, whenever paragraph element, its contents are selected, then you are changing the color to yellow. Let's see that output, how it looks. Now currently it has a red single letter here, which is because of the property that we use first letter, and first line is getting underlined. And now you can observe here, I can go ahead and select this. So if what you're seeing, I am changing the color of the font to yellow. Why? Because that is the selection I am making. Because of the selection, I am taking the mouse, clicking and dragging it over just to show the selection. So that is because of this property. I can even change the background color. Rather than the color, I can change the background color to yellow, which means whenever I select, it is changing the color to yellow. Why is this? This is because of the select property. Are you understanding, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So yeah, I mean that is there is some beautiful things that you can go ahead and use for yourself, and try to work on these examples and get them straight out of your learning right and then. Okay. And then once this is done, pseudo element selector, then there is an attribute selector. Attribute selector is you are selecting the attribute of a HTML code. Now attributes means like the way this is an attribute, class is an attribute, ID is an attribute, href is an attribute, target is an attribute. So now depending on the attributes, I am selecting a element. So those are called attribute selectors. Now here just observe, attribute selectors are put in the square brackets. Okay, here there is an attribute selector which is put down in a square brackets, and here also an attribute selector which is put down into a square brackets. Now let's observe few things here. Okay, now let me remove this. Let's say I have add one skill jam, and then I'm trying to add a paragraph. A paragraph will contain what? A paragraph will contain an anchor tag. An anchor tag, let's say anchor tag has http colon front slash skillsam.com. Or let me, instead of typing this, I'll copy those things itself so that demonstration would be easy. Let me take this 3. Yeah, so now what it is containing, it is containing a heading tag. Okay, simple heading tag h1. It has got a class called heading, and then there is a paragraph tag with the id attribute called skillsam, and then it contains inside there is an anchor tag. Okay, anchor tag contains href attribute as well as target attribute. All right, in the same way there is another paragraph with an id called workzam, linked to the workzam page, and then inside that there is a attribute anchor tag, and this anchor tag contains attributes called href. There is a title, and it is being shown here. Now I want to use attribute selectors. For that, what I need to do, just create this one, a style tag. And inside that, if I want to select only those hyperlinks, okay. So now there are two hyperlinks, right? There are two hyperlinks in our output. Let's go ahead and see. There are two hyperlinks, correct? So in suppose this is just a single web page where we have two hyperlinks. In a web page sometimes there will be hundreds of hyperlinks. Okay, at that point in time, you attribute selectors are of very important use. Now what example I want to take it here is, just select me those attributes, those hyperlinks where I have an attribute called title. Okay, just title. So what I need to do, I need to give square brackets, inside that write what attribute it is, title, title, and then give what I want to do with it. So what I want to do is, I want to let's say background color. I want to add a background color of red to it. Okay, just to highlight. So what I'm trying to do here is, this square bracket is an attribute selector. So I am selecting an attribute called title, and whenever that title is selected, I want to change that to red color. So this is the need that I'm doing. So whenever the output, if I see, not both the hyperlinks, because there are two hyperlinks, one will not contain the title, it contains target but it does not have a title. Here there is a title, hence only workzam will be highlighted with the red background, because that is the selection that we have done using the title attribute. And the same is the case with a target as well. If I go ahead and say target attribute, okay, I'll remove colon, target attribute, I want to say the background color, let's say I want to add it as yellow. Now this is also fine. So this will be changing to yellow, this will still be red, because the target attribute is only available in this anchor tag. Okay, so that is how you can go ahead, and even I can go ahead and say where the target is equal to blank. Even this also I can do, target is equal to blank. target is equal to blank. So wherever I need to select all those anchor tags which are going to open in a new window, I just want to select them, and I can do that. Target is equal to blank. Then select them and color them with a yellow. That I can do. Okay. So these are something called as attribute selectors. Understood, guys? All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.